pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Patterson?
Present.
Procedural action. Oh, I'm sorry, we've changed it up. Public participation. And first on the agenda is a Mr. Matthew Thornton. If you would stand at the podium and address the board. Oh, I'm sorry. 5 minutes per public address. Okay.
Matthew Thornton, 5050 Hamilton Middletown Road. This one's a little bit different. I'm actually not a Ross Township resident. I'm a Butler County resident, and I went to the District Health Council meeting. Mr. John Fisher went to it. So I thank him for attending because it was a long evening. I'm sure he was away from his family. And I had some issues with the Board of Health, and you guys are the oversight body of the Board of Health. You guys elect the Board of Health members. And the ORC, it says the District Health Council shall, that word is shall, not must, not maybe, not if they feel like, shall adopt bylaws and voting procedures and things of that nature. And I noticed Mrs. Patterson's actually has a JD, which is awesome. So you guys can kind of know how important the ORC is. And it amazes me that the Board of Health, that district council that elects the Board of Health doesn't have bylaws. So there's no voting procedures on how to become a board member. There's no rhyme and reason to the start time of the meeting, and there's no agenda. They violated the sunshine law by not having a started time. And I brought all these concerns up very gentlemanly like beforehand to the president, Madison Township, Hanover Township, which hosted it, the vice president, which I believe is Riley Township, and the secretary. Nobody seems to care. So I decided that I'll just go around to all the townships, introduce myself, and start getting information to you guys that I want some accountability to our Board of Health. Same members on that board have been there for 15 years. You guys are in charge of electing the Board of Health. There's no discussion on the two people that got voted in. And I just encourage you to be more interested in that because I know you guys are busy and it's essentially a volunteer position, but you guys are the oversight board of that Board of Health. And that Board of Health is really powerful. They decide to do essentially whatever they want. It seems like violating our constitutional rights and things of that nature. So I just wanted to come in here. I wanted to learn a little bit about how you guys run your meetings. Your website's awesome. You guys got stuff about the sunshine law. You guys got your minute meetings on it, which is great. You guys have candy for the citizens. The last meeting I went to one last night, they had candy for the trustees, but no water and no food for the constituents. So I'm noticing a lot of small things on kind of my tour of, that's just my last spiel today. So, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
A question for you, Mr. Thornton. Have you been to Oxford Township's business meeting yet?
I have not.
I think they meet once a month. Gary Solomon is the president of the Butler County Trustees Association. Yes, he's very knowledgeable on what you're speaking about and may be able to lead you in the right direction and may be able to bring up a format at our next meeting. And I don't know what part of the county that'd be in, but he'd be the gentleman to speak with.
It's in Lemon Township. So
The next one's going to be in Lemon?
yeah.
Okay.
They don't even have it's at the majors. Private. So actually protest at the next township one on the public sidewalk to bring awareness. But that brings into some unique challenges with it being at a private business, Lemon Township. But Mr. Salmon or however.
Solomon.
After the meeting, I actually had a township trustee actually come up to me and said that she liked some of the things that I brought up. But she also, for whatever reason, she mentioned him and said that I'm probably not going to get very far. Again, I asked very nicely to get bylaws before. I even offered to carbon copy Claremont County, Hampton County, Trumbull County. and things of that nature. And for whatever reason, they don't want to do it. I mean, one example is one of the board members, he got term limited from being on the city council, but he was a city council member at the same time that he was board of health member. Like for you guys can't be on the board of health. You go to the attorney general's website, they have an opinion piece that you can ask, and it says you cannot be, well, like one of you guys is a zoning member. You're allowed to do that. Like the auditor in the book says, hey, you can be a township trustee and a rural commission board member. That's allowed. But it specifically says, hey, you can't be a city council member, you can't be a township trustee and be on the board of health because the cities and the townships pay for the board of health, so it's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
So those are the things that I bring up that I think I step on people's toes. So it's not really going to change anything, but I'm going to go to all the different areas.
Okay. Thank you for coming to our meeting. Next is Christina Metz.
Oh, that's me. Okay.
I'm with her because we got both the same thing to say.
I live on 3501 Plank, which is, I'm the only one on that street. It's off of Windy Knoll, which is off of Lehigh. Mike lives on Lehigh.
You know,
On Windy Knoll. The reason that we're here tonight is trying to find out, we have a person in the neighborhood that shoots high-powered.
I don't know if it's high powered or not.
Okay, well, it's loud. And so we know it's not a BB gun, it's not.
And Keith, you know who this is.
I'm aware.
So we're just trying to find out what the laws are for that, because if he can target practice in his backyard,
With an illegal party.
which is like the
Which
size
is
of a
an
paper
illegal,
plate.
Shooting range. There's no backstop, no nothing. Shoots at a tree, 18-inch tree.
And behind him is,
Terry Bridges' house on Lehigh Road.
and it's,
Direct in a line of sight.
so my biggest concern though is the fact that
He speaks. He needs to.
when he's out there, he only does that when I walk out or my daughter walks out in the yard, but mostly when the dog walks out, who's enclosed in an electric fence. And he apparently says it's target practice, but only shoots one piece to my dog, and then my dog runs to the back and he's shaking. And this has been going on for a long time. And I just want to know what the laws are as far as what he's allowed and not allowed to. I have called Ross Township, they've come out, but like, it's a farming community, and it kind of gets swept under the rug all the time. It's been going on since 2014. And, it's an intimidation factor. I mean, I'm a single mom. I mean, my kids are not small anymore, but 16 and 20. But I just don't know what, and I'm banning gun laws or telling people what they can and can't do in their backyard. But when my 16-year-old or my 20-year-old's out in the side yard where he's shooting parallel with them, if it ricochets, what then?
My yard is within, I've got a picture of the tree that it shoots at.
Can you stand a little closer to the podium, please?
Give his name and
Thank you.
give his name and address.
I've got a
And let me interrupt one more time. State your name and address, please.
Hagen, 3706 Windy Knoll. I'm on the other side of where she is.
So it's like Mike and
I've
then
got a
it's
picture
him
here I
and then
took
me.
from my deck that shows what he shoots at. I've been in my backyard. This tree that he shoots at is probably within 100, 120 feet of my backyard, and I've been within probably 60 or 70 feet of that tree at the corner of my lot. And he's fired off shots, supposedly at this tree. And my question is, when does it become harassment? Because I went over to her house the other day to help her get her lawnmower started. I pulled in her driveway. He walked out, ripped off 3 shots. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's
It's just untimely
it seems
whenever
like when my dog is in the yard, she barks, she's German Shepherd. Anybody's got one knows that. If she don't bark, she's not outside all day. When her dog is outside, same thing.
Every
Her
time.
dog don't bark that much. But he's a sick man with a gun. I'm saying this publicly.
He is. He's a loose cannon. I'm intimidated. I'm afraid of him. I do not challenge him because I have two kids still that live at home. And, he has been bullying my family since we've been there, since they were 7 and 10, and now they're 16 and 20. I mean, it's ridiculous. I called. And, it's just no big deal. Just don't look at him, just leave him alone. But it's just every day. It was up to today. As soon as Blue walked outside, and he knows not to cross that line, because we have it up high, he's gonna get shocked hard. And every time, I know he's retired, he has nothing else to do, but it just gets old. It's intimidating. I don't want to have to walk outside and worry about a ricochet or feel like I can't enjoy my yard because he's giving me a warning shot and my dog would leave my yard. He's gonna kill him. And he would. And he would say self-defense. It has been an ongoing problem since 2014.
He hasn't really threatened her as far as I know.
Oh, he has.
With violence,
No, not with violence.
because that way we could file for a restraining order. But until then, he's just a sick person. I'm just saying that. You see, you saying is see something, say something. That's why we're here.
Well, it was called on before.
You've dealt with him in his driveway.
Yes,
Well, and
This was, what, how many years ago? Quite a few.
2015.
yeah. I mean, he's the kind of guy that we caught crouching behind the bushes when my daughter and her friends were in my side yard in bathing suits at 12 years old. Girls look like at 12, they're sticks, they're, just watching. And he would hurry in the house. That's weird. I called about that. Well, he's in his yard. Maybe he's looking at other. No, he's not. He's a creep. He's a total. And I'm sorry, but I don't know. And then the thing is, he's called the township on me twice in the past 2 weeks about my culverts, which I don't even think are my property.
She don't even know. He's got pictures of the culverts.
And the one culvert, so my house dead ends, so.
That's going to be two separate complaints.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so let's stick with the one up front. Of course, at this,
Shooting thing.
Yeah. that is,
And most of the time,
time is up. Time is up. What I'm going to advise you to do is set up a meeting with Chief Roberts on your complaint in 2015, 14. That's going to be a previous police chief, and I know we've spoken about the ORC. And as of then, and I don't believe it's changed any, there's nothing in the ORC that states anything about what is considered a safe backstop, or even if one must be provided for the target shoot. But your best bet, because it pertains to that, is to see Chief Burton about that.
Ohio Revised Code.
And again, sir,
3162.
I understand, but your time is up.
Okay.
And I'm just giving you an avenue of approach. Start with the police chief and see if you can get a time period where you can both come in and sit down and speak with him in his office, and he'll take you for the law right there. And if he's unaware, then he'll reach out to the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
Okay? But keep us informed.
And usually he's here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, tonight we don't have a chief to answer you right away.
Thank you. Mr. Hilbert, you're up, sir.
Make any comments on that?
Do I? No.
Jerry Hilbert, 3663 Lehigh Road, Hamilton, Ohio, 45013. What I have little comments about is things that are going to be coming up. We've got a police levy coming up. Taxes coming up for the people. We've got the electric deal that you're working on. And we have a 9.4 levy for the school boards. What is the township's going to start working on, or what are they going to be doing with them?
Doing with what?
Trying to see how the police levy, are you going to go door to door, or what are you going to do? Are you going to mail it? Are you going to?
We have no idea, because as a trustees, we can't do that. That is up to a committee that will be formed that supports the police levy, and it'll go up from there on their agenda. But we can't go door to door politician for that levy.
The politicians. That's what-
As of right now, we do not know. The committee hasn't been formed. Anything from the other board members?
Deal about Duke Energy and the supplier, when's that come up for the vote?
It'll be on the ballot this November.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Procedural actions. Move for the adoption of motion 23-054 to dispense with the reading of the minutes from the March 2nd, 2023 regular meeting and the March 16th, 2023 work session. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Blower?
Yes. Move for the adoption of motion number 23-055 to approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2023 meeting, regular meeting. Need a second.
A second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Patterson? Yes. Trustee Blower?
Yes. Move for the adoption of motion number 23-056 to approve the minutes of the March 16th, 2023 work session. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Patterson? Yes. Trustee Blower?
Yes. Fiscal officers reports.
All right, for your consideration this evening, I have a certification of purchase orders issued and checks written since our last meeting, and these are primarily through March 31st. There might be a few items from the first few days of April. The next item on my list or my report for you is I have some reports. All for March of 2023, there is a revenue summary, a fund summary, and an appropriation status report for you to look at and review. There's also the blue bannered receipt export since our last meeting, and that is a page and a half of data. Just a note, so you know where we are, we have received 100% of our first half real estate settlement. We received the bulk of it 2 to 3 weeks ago through the advanced process. And then late last week, we received the final portion of it. So we are good to go. And then we also received our tiny little mobile home settlement of about $3,000. So we're good. Moving on, I have for you to sign and review the March of 23 bank reconciliation. I also have for President Blower to sign the February credit card attestation. But you're all free to review that if you'd like. And then just a few little house cleaning notes. One is, if I haven't mentioned this before, I might have, we have the bulk of the township credit cards are expiring. They're all good through the end of April. First Financial assures me that about 2 weeks, well, in probably a week or so, they will mail the new cards to everyone. So please be on the lookout for those. The only 3 there are exceptions to that have a different end date, and that would be for Trustees Fisher and Patterson and Sergeant Rogers. They all have a unique date on them, but everyone else should be receiving the township credit cards. And I really would like to collect the old ones so that I can destroy them. So as you get them, please let me know and bring me the old ones. And then finally, just for general knowledge, the 2022 annual financial report is available for review. It sits on that side table on the other side of the wall there. It is available for review Monday through Friday. There's normally someone here between about 9 a.m. and 3:30 or 4. So if anyone would like to look at it, there was an ad that ran in the Hamilton Journal on March 23rd, stating also that it's available for review. So I believe those are all the items on my list. And if you have any questions, I'd be willing to do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Julie?
So this is our second business meeting, work session?
This is
Our
our,
first after,
First after.
this is the first after, right?
correct.
Are we okay?
It doesn't create a huge, I would say most of the heavy lifting is done by Administrator Kyle. For me, the reports that I run are just whatever range. I just change the range. Yeah, it's really not. I would say that Administrator Kyle would probably have more to say on that than I.
We're okay.
No worse than any of them.
In their meeting. That's great.
It didn't create more work for you?
Right, no.
Okay. Good.
And even if it did, I like this format that we're switching to, so,
So we're willing to, okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Move for the adoption of motion 23-057 to pay the bills as presented through the fiscal officer's certification of purchase orders. I need a second.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Yes. Department reports. Administrator?
Good evening. Tonight, administration has 3 resolutions and 1 motion for your consideration. We've been doing some spring cleaning around here. So the first resolution is to approve items to be sold on Gov Deals. The second resolution is to dispose of items that have no value. Did you have any questions about any of the items that are going on Gov Deals or just to be disposed of?
I have none.
Have quite a few vehicles that are going on Gov Deals. The plan is we'll park them out here with a sign that they'll be on Gov Deals. I have to put a legal notice in the paper 2 weeks prior to the beginning of the online auction, and then the auction itself, they recommend that it lasts no more than 10 days. So it's going to start towards the end of April, I believe. Wednesday, May 3rd is the last day. So any questions about any of those items?
No.
I have none.
Okay. The next is just some cleanup in the personnel policy. The board did enact a longevity benefit, however, initiating and the payment of that benefit was not explicit enough, so verbiage has been added to address that. And it was also brought to light that there was a conflict. 2 different numbers were being used in 2 different places in regards to the payout of accumulated sick leave upon retirement. I just went with the largest amount and have rectified that those are referencing the same amount for that cleanup. And finally, there's a motion to set the Records Commission meeting. That meeting just consists of the president of the board and the fiscal officer and myself. And the recommendation is to set that for 30 minutes prior to the next regular meeting on Thursday, May 4th. Do you have any questions about any of that?
I have none.
No.
Ongoing cleanup of personnel policies.
Ongoing.
Probably maybe a work session discussion item at some point.
Yes.
A big overhaul,
Yes.
like a big in-depth overhaul.
So if you wanted to go ahead and
Second. Where do you want?
Resolution.
Yeah.
Our new
I
format.
wanted to go ahead and move the enacting the legislation at the time it was discussed instead of having it all at the end.
Okay.
So we'll just go through the list and maybe if you just do like resolution number, whatever, and then we'll second and we'll just pop our way down.
Sounds like a plan.
This is a new format for all of us.
To be tweaked.
To be tweaked, but we're getting there.
Move for the adoption of resolution number 2023-020, declaring certain property obsolete and no longer needed for public use, authorizing online internet sale of such property, ordering publication and notice, and authorizing the township administrator to execute required documents. I need a second.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Yes. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2023-021, declaring certain township inventory items no longer needed for public use, obsolete, unfit for use, acquired, having no value, and authorizing disposal of salvage thereof. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Yes.
Purpose: the personnel policy needed to amend to better define the longevity pay benefit and to deconflict the maximum number of hours of accumulated sick leave to be paid out upon retirement. This resolution amends that personnel policy to reflect those revisions. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2023-022, amending the Ross Township Local Government Manual Summary of Personal Policies. I need a second.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Yes. Purpose: scheduling annual records commission meeting. Move for the adoption of motion 23-058 to set a meeting of Ross Township Records Commission to be held on Thursday, May 4th, 2023 at 5:30 PM at the Ross Township Government Center. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Yes. Next up is talk about the spring newsletter.
Yes, I have all of the articles ready to go. We just, later in the meeting, you're going to discuss the possibility of the formation of two particular committees. So the names of those committees, we need to be solidified. And other than that, we're ready to go. We're also I've asked the company that makes the newsletter to refresh the cover page to give it a cleaner, brighter look. So I'll send the board, once the proof is ready, I'll send it to you to review. And also there's a nuisances update before you, nothing really to report on or nuisances. And that's all administration has this evening.
Anything else for Lori? Thank you. Moving on to the fire department. Purpose: approve the hiring of Jason Bunger to the position of part-time firefighter medic. Move the adoption of motion number 23-059 to approve Jason Bunger to part-time firefighter medic at a rate of $19 per hour. This action is in compliance with the current staffing level and pay summary. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Yes. Chief Miller?
Thanks, Keith. Give you guys a little background on Jason Bunger. When we started our fire explorer group, Jason was one of the initial members of that at a ripe age, I think of 15 years old. And Jason went through that until he turned 18, went to Butler Tech, got his firefighter EMT, got his medic, and then as soon as he got his medic card, he flew the coop, and he's been with City Hamilton now, I think, for about 5 years. But Jason's going to come on board and work a PRN shift for us, so it's kind of good to have him back. So I appreciate that motion. Our monthly report, our department responded to 95 runs last month. 66 of those were EMS calls. And I can honestly tell you, this is probably the first time in probably 10 years that our Life Squad hasn't made a mutual aid call. So for Life Squad, that's good for the city of Hamilton. But we made 61 runs in the Ross Township, 5 in the village of Millville. We did 29 fire runs, 20 in Ross Township, none in Millville. Mutual aid calls in the city of Hamilton, 6. And I think out of those 6, 4 of those were structure fires. 1 in the Morgan Township, 1 in the Crosby, 1 in the Hanover Township for a structure fire. We received mutual aid once from Morgan Township for an MBA and 1 from Colerain Township for an EMS assist. I think this week the administrator sent you guys the latest version of the emergency operations plan. I don't know if the board had a chance to review that, if you guys get any comments.
I have not read it yet.
I have not.
Received,
I was out of
yes,
town.
but not read it yet.
Okay, and that's fine. Talking with Phil Clayton and myself, because Phil's kind of the subject matter expert, he wants to hold off on writing the rest of the annex until you guys approve that basic plan. And that way we're not writing all this stuff. And if you guys don't approve that basic plan, it might mess up the annexes. But yeah, I'd like for the board to review that, and please let me know in your comments. I believe the file that Lori sent you was her comments and then my replies back to her comments. So I don't know if we can keep that flow going, if any of the board has any comments, so we don't have a whole bunch of versions of that plan out there. But I think it's a good product. I think it's something that will appease the board.
Okay.
That's all I have for you.
Do you think we can get Jason to talk to some of the kids at the high school about his journey to this point? We're always looking for new and up.
Yeah, it might not be a bad idea, but
Great example of some kid that you can get at 15 and where he's at this point.
yeah, yeah, that's a good thought, John.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking for him, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Anything further for the fire chief? Road department, Paul Bullock.
Thanks, Keith. Couple things. First, I got an email today about the retrace contract. The contract actually came in about $5,000 less than the estimate. That doesn't happen very often, so a little bit helps. We have our 2011 small dump truck, the F450. We've been having an issue with it for a while, that you come up to a stop sign or stoplight, if you sit there at all, it'll just quit out of the blue, start right back up. So it's in the shop over at Cronin Ford, and I just want to make you aware of it because right now they don't know what's wrong with it. So I don't know where this is going to go or how expensive it's going to get, so I'll surely have an update next meeting, but just making you aware of it.
Is this the one that we authorized another truck up?
No.
It's not.
No, this is our daily small dump truck that we use all the time. Then we had, you guys are aware of the Black Road flooding issue just past Brenda Drive. We've had the county working on a study as to what to do to fix that for a while now, but they've reached out and said that they have completed the study. They actually even hired a consultant to join in on that to get this right. Kar Singh is the main guy on that. He said he would come to our next work session and explain it all as to what we need to do. If it'll be up to you guys what we do, but it'll be their recommendations on what they think. So he will be here if that's all right with you guys and explain that at the time.
And that's just like north of Black, or north of Brenda, and there's culverts.
Yeah, the
fill up,
culvert
it goes over into the street.
Yeah, the culvert's too small and water comes from every direction at it, so it fights against itself.
It goes up above the
It goes
roadway.
over the road.
Yeah.
So it's been doing it forever. I've had them out there several times years ago, and this was finally they took it serious enough to do a study and get somebody else involved. So, we'll see what they say, and, we'll have to figure out costs and how everything works, because it will involve the property owners on the other side of the road. But I'll let him go through his whole thing, before I comment ahead of it. So, I believe that's all I have to.
Anything else for the road department? Thank you, Paul. Police department. Chief Roberts was going to be out of the office today. Sergeant Rogers was going to fill in for his position, but he was on the color guard for Springfield Township this afternoon. So I will take care of their section. Monthly report for March 2023. Calls for service 551. Auto accidents 17. Traffic citations 49. Warnings 23. Adult arrest 15. And juvenile arrest 3. National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day is Saturday, April 22nd. The main office here will be open, and the police department will be accepting those discarded medications to then turn them over to be destroyed properly. And that's all I have for the police department. Moving on to township old business. First off is the Verizon cell phone tower counter offer.
I was in contact with them. They are reviewing our situation, and they said in 30 days they would have a counter. They would recalculate their offer and let us know. So can table that for a month.
Okay.
Get on in. Police Department, November 2023 levy timeline. Or do you want me to read this publicly, or were you going to take care of that?
Well, the fiscal officer and I kind of worked on this together, and it's just backing out of, more than likely the police department is going to proceed with putting a levy on the November ballot. So in order to do that, what needs to be done by when is basically what this is, and it comes down to it, the next work session. One of the main topics will be a discussion on the levy amount. And from that, then the fiscal officer can request revenue worksheets from the Butler County auditor for the final determination at the May 4th meeting.
Here, if I jump in.
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Some of the hard numbers are, we have an absolute deadline to meet our obligation to file with the Board of Elections there in August, on August 9th. And you want to make sure we have plenty of time. The June 1st and the July 6th, the meeting dates, that resolution of necessity has to be followed. You give a copy to the auditor. They have 10 days to respond, and they give you the certificate that you have to file with the Board of Elections. And then you can do the resolution to proceed, and it is required that you do those in 2 separate steps. So because of our scheduling, it just gives us some leeway. Also, we require some assistance from the prosecutor's office. Assistant Prosecutor Marian Nardiello will be the one handling all the language, the ballot language, and I just know from experience with my prior profession that she gets bombarded. So we want to reach out to her as early as humanly possible and give her a little space. And then that way we are ready to go in June and then again in July. So now, theoretically, we shouldn't have a lot changing in ballot language, but Administrator Kyle reminded me that there was a legislative action taken to make ballot language a little more uniform, when all it's going to do is really make things far more complicated for the voters at the ballot. But knowing that Marion's probably going to need a little latitude. So this was the schedule we came up with that gives us all time to look at all our scenarios and make the best decisions.
Pretty good. Yeah, I think the timeline is helpful.
So I will not be at the May 4th meeting. There's a assured to be fantastic choir concert that night. And then I'm heading out of town shortly after that ends. So I won't be at that one. I'm very fine to not be at that one to keep on track. But if we feel like we need all three people here, I'm open to rescheduling that too. That's
Keep in mind, we
whatever.
also have work sessions in the interim that can also,
Sure.
because none of these all these discussions could be, I mean, because there's no action that needs to happen legislatively or motion wise. It's just how we're going to proceed. And again, Mary Ann can draft a couple different scenarios if we need it, or if we let her know we're down to like 2 different scenarios. She can write them accordingly and have them ready to go.
Okay. I misread that. I thought we had to do something that day.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
But we also have the work sessions. So that's just kind of a cushion, actually.
If it spills over and we're tired at that point.
Chief Roberts had indicated he is going to be out of town at one meeting. And so we kind of backed some things and worked it differently to take that into consideration as well.
So you have?
Okay.
All right.
Do you need us to do it like, just, yes, we're good with this? We're gonna,
I think just if everybody's
This is how we're
okay with the
charging ahead?
timeline, this is. what we'll
Yeah,
work
absolutely.
with.
Looks good to me.
I think so.
I'll roll with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Advisory committees. Lori, what do you have on that?
Just the board had discussed the formation of 2 committees, one centered around safety services, the other fiscal oversight committee. We're going to put information regarding that in the newsletter. I think it comes down to, you talked about, the number of members you want on each committee, just confirming that and the names of the committees.
I think the idea was, if I remember right, 3 people plus staff support and elected support felt like a good number to start with, because this is new to us, right? New, lots of things are new. And hopefully we get enough people that are interested that we can fill 2 committees. I think that'll be good too. And then we just kind of learn as we go with what the topics exactly were, but one was public safety, one is financial something, and then they may come together for joint meetings. For example, a public safety budget for levy discussions could be joint. But it was a way for people who wanted to be involved and kind of start that pipeline and think about getting some good, solid information back out to people. But I don't know that we landed on an actual official name.
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion on the name. Public safety is fine with me.
Yeah.
Fiscal oversight committee is fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I like that 3 people start. As far as meeting, and we discussed a little bit, like each work session, once a month meeting for them, once a quarter. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know that we really, I mean,
Just if we're going to start to recruit or
Right.
publish, to get applicants, I think it's fair to at least get a, timeline. In the beginning, I would think, once a month, maybe around our work sessions would be kind of a decent start and kind of go from there. I don't want it to be overwhelming, but I think we have to have some consistency in the beginning just to get the thing started.
yeah, there'll be a lot of onboarding, a lot of information. And then ideally that committee says, hey, we want to know more about this, or we want to learn, like, let's dive into that a little more. And that committee starts to take on agenda management in partnership with staff. So yeah, I'm good. What do you think, monthly?
So you'd like to meet with them when we do a work session? Because we'll start getting some of these things off the list, and there'll be additional time for that. So
Okay.
agreement that we were already all here,
Absolutely. Right.
public record type thing. And
meantime, the newsletter goes out saying we'd like to do so, interested parties contact. I don't know if it's going to be Administrator Kyle or myself, maybe one does one and then we start
Yeah.
forming a list and hopefully we have some folks who respond. And,
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Public safety goes to Lori and you fiscal and
Oversight goes to me and we'll go from there.
it's once a month in the evening. Just to accommodate as many people schedule wise as possible.
And it's going to be as much about the creation of the committee as
Yep.
in and of itself. What do we think we want to do with it? How do we want to proceed?
Right. What are the
Sure.
meeting norms, things like that. Yep.
Okay.
So is this in the spring newsletter? Is there a section that asking
It will be, yeah.
interested parties to?
Yes.
Yep. It will be.
Great. All right, last in old business, anything from the board?
We did get an email from Lori about Duke and they're moving forward on putting in the high transmission. And I know that we'd had some comments back of, like our fire department property is protected. I happen to be, say lost is not the word, but taking a different route than normal over through Fairfield the other day. And I actually found a picture perfect, and I wish we had a screen, of what kind of concerns me when they start to split parcels. You start to put your high transmission over the road to your neighborhood. And so this is what the entrance to the neighborhood looks like. And that is what is running down the street.
Is that by the golf course?
Sure. It's off of John Gray somewhere, but yes, I think there was a golf course involved. Those are shoes, you don't need those. So just something to think about, if we want to continue to push on Duke a little bit for that and say, hey, look, like this was not, here you can see they kind of followed a tree line, right? So it's not necessarily, but if you drive it right down the middle of the property, that owner, that developer is going to have to put something under there. And the only thing you can put under there is a road. And so now the entrance to your neighborhood has high transmission running along your entrance, which I'm not saying is good or bad. I'm just saying that's a look that in 30, 40, 50 years, would that be the best thing? And that's kind of maybe up for discussion here. I personally would like to see us push them to the extent that we can over towards existing creek lines or existing features that they are already not going to be able to build
I think
under.
that decision's been made. I think Duke already made that
Did they
decision.
make the decision or are they
I think I got
still
something in the
open?
mail from it. Yeah, that it is the creek line.
I don't know.
For the west side of 27.
For the one side, but then the other side.
Yeah, the other
it
side
seemed
was
like it
pretty, it was
still-
1, 2, or 3, and all of them were kind of parallel to each other.
They're all still running down the middle.
That one wasn't a big concern, but I think the one on the other side of the
They're following
east
it on that
side
one.
was, followed the creek and kind of went
Makes
over.
sense to you? Is that what you remember?
I believe John's right.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
The letter I got, it's basically where Millville, Shandon, and Marion Drive is. It's as a crow flies to 27, goes to the substation. Then I believe it goes up to Creek Line over to Ross Hanover Road.
But then the other one is still going straight through the open field.
Yeah, and that was kind of
That's
one
cool, yeah.
very parallel.
Yeah.
Option A, B, or C. I don't think that made much
not
of a
going
difference,
to.
but yeah, the one that goes a little bit closer to, Brashear, that kind of neighborhood, the back of that neighborhood, as opposed to going down the center
The center. of
and
the-
then, yeah.
So they partially listened to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Partial. I don't know. I'll probably still say something to Abby when I see her. Just, hey, this would have been, as we protect property values, you didn't do us any favors. And she'll say, thank you very much.
Right.
Okay.
New business, general nuisance abatement policy regarding no acceptance of anonymous complaints. When we originally accepted that, when Mr. Bass was the township administrator, was there a resolution that we drew up or was that just,
Part of the policy itself.
it was just part of the policy?
Advised to include
Okay.
no anonymous complaints.
So as the question is, leave it as is that we won't accept it? Does anybody wish for a change that we will?
I think we should accept anonymous complaints.
I agree.
I think there's so many levels of not knowing how someone might respond, that I could see people not wanting to make a complaint because they're concerned for their safety. I mean, we did hear a little bit tonight about a situation where probably would not be inclined to make a property maintenance complaint on that gentleman. And so to the extent that it doesn't become, tit for tat and back and forth and all that, I think we should allow it. I think that's just the reality of the world we live in. If it becomes a problem, if it becomes overwhelming for, staff balancing all of that, then I think we can have some discussions. But at some point, and we do this all the time, where I am, we take the anonymous complaints. And most of the time, there really is something there. I mean, it's not like they imagined that the grass was high. The grass really is high. So I'm good with it.
I agree.
Lori, if we do this, do you want us to have a conversation staffing wise about how we could find some help, because it falls to you to do the enforcement and things like that? If there is a wave of complaints that comes in.
If I begin to have a problem, I will let you know.
So, I would assume there's a wave coming anyways with spring. People are outside,
Right.
Things are growing faster than you can mow them.
Yeah.
It becomes real.
With the swampland I have.
I wouldn't want somebody in the community not to contact us because they are in fear of putting their name down. I'd rather understand their situation and try to help regardless of that. So.
Okay.
So how do we make that change? Do we have to?
I'll have a resolution for the next meeting.
Okay.
To amend the policy.
Okay.
Take any public debate about that?
Not right
Not
now,
right now.
sir. Anything from the board on new business? Announcement. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I seen your hand. I thought you may have
No,
something.
I will have your announcements, so you're good.
All right, announcements. None from the administration. Anything from the board?
No.
I do. So when I took this on about a year ago, we had a lot of family discussions about balance, and there were some pending economic development projects. That's what I do. That's what I jump into. That's what I love. And not everybody in my house was on board at all. And I said, well, here's the deal. You have an obligation to serve. And we also have a family obligation. And so we'll continue to evaluate and we'll see where things fall. And we have been wickedly upside down for about probably 4 or 5 months now. For family township life balance, it's not been good. And after 3 days hanging out with my kids for spring break, I realized I don't hang out with them anymore. So with that, I will resign from the board at the end of May. I would love to stick it out. I think this board is doing such great things to be more open and transparent, and I would love to see where it goes. I hope that the applicant pool is deep and kind of encourages that. I have worked with Julie for a very long time, various capacities, and you could not ask for a better fiscal officer to be watching your pennies and seeing the big picture. Staff is amazing. Lori's kind of continually saying, what about this? And how do we do this? And how can we do this better? And I think that is fantastic. And department heads do a lot with not a lot. I think once you start to tour some facilities and have some conversations, you realize how much people do. But, there's a balance, and we're not there. So that's all.
I like to say I'm saddened to hear this because you have brought so much to this board on development, a strong idea of anything that it presents to us on leading in the right way. You truly have brought some great knowledge, vast knowledge to this meetings. I think we all understand family, nothing like the kids and grandkids. We understand that your husband received a promotion. That changed his lifestyle, but it's
Yes,
going to be missed.
thank you. I
Gonna be missed.
appreciate it. And I appreciate the understanding. Yeah, that promotion was not helpful to this at all.
Oh, we knew that when it occurred.
Yes, we did. And so, yeah, it's really unfortunate, but I did tell the kids today and big hugs. Big hugs.
Can we still call you for ideas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will cost
Right.
It will cost you a flubs. In season, out of
Okay.
season, it will probably cost you a beverage.
Well, thank
I
you.
use the water cooler, but yeah, absolutely. I am happy to help. I still live here. I still love everything about here, but yeah, we need to reset.
Family first.
Yes,
I
appreciate it.
was told that when I joined the police department under Chief Dozier. Family first. Let me find my spot now.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. We are correspondence. None from the administration. Anything from the board? No.
No.
Okay, topics for our next work session, short-term topics. Black Road's drainage issue, which Paul spoke about, and there'll be a representative at that meeting to speak to us.
Yes.
Okay, and let us know we'll move along. Police Department levy, and it'll be, the newsletter have made it out by then that we may hear back from some people by then, or no? A little too early?
Hard with printing and mailing time.
Yeah, so
Probably not quite.
we'll have that on short term, but most likely we'll talk about that more in May. Any additional short term from the board?
I think for police, I think the next meeting, April 20th, we've got to actually start to get into scenarios. So we
Okay,
would maybe,
yes, we
as we're
do.
going through this, we would maybe have a committee in place
PD levy.
that could give some
agenda.
feedback, but I think the what ifs has to start happening. Is that right?
Okay,
And is Chief going to be there?
It's our understanding,
Is
yes.
that- Okay.
hey, long-term topics, land use plan approval, next steps. Ross Hamilton Jed, next steps. Township-owned Morgan Lane parcels, I believe there's two. Building use policy, administration building, police station, building/roof. For long-term topics, anything from the board?
Would it be possible to do some just kind of goal setting as we talk about these things for what we want to accomplish? Like we made a reference to the HR policies are a little upside down,
Right.
just the nature of us growing. Like, would it be possible for us to talk through, maybe come up with 3 things that we want this year, just for staff and department heads to be able to look back and say, okay, well, here is my work plan. This is what I did, or this is in progress by the end of the year. Have you guys ever done anything like that before?
And that would be to the department heads to come up with 3?
Well, I think it would go for, no, it would be for us
Okay.
to talk to Lori to say, hey, as administrator, what do you think we need to have on our radar? I mean, here's the thing, there's nothing that really says, go spend however long working on HR policies, or
Right.
nothing that really says, bring us a consultant. I'm not trying to spend money on my way out the door. Please don't spin it that way. But don't, there's nothing that says like, hey, yes, this is a priority for us. So she's kind of running blind. Department heads are kind of running blind until we get to budget season. And then we're like, well, where's your staffing plan? Well, we never really told them to spend some time working on a staffing plan. So I'm just thinking of those kinds of things. Maybe there's a couple that we could brainstorm that could turn into some guideposts for this year.
Okay. And we'll
And then
talk.
when reviews come around, you look back at those and you say, okay, yeah, this went well, or we understand why this didn't go that way. Like there's I have not been able to find like a document that says, here's what your goals are and here's how we know what your increase is. If you get a merit increase versus just a cost of living.
Will we talk about that longer at our work session?
Yeah,
And-
yeah, if
okay.
you're open to it. That's what I
Oh,
want to
yes,
see if you guys are
truly.
open to it being on the
Yeah, just kind
agenda.
of put that as like goal setting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, on
Was our building use policy, did we come to a conclusion with that? With some things?
We talked about it
Okay.
with, but I don't know that we came to an actual.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think we started that conversation about building security and you open it for some, you got to open it for everybody. And how do you
Okay.
manage that? And I think we talked about like, I think chief gets a lot of those requests, but it's essentially an unmanned building if there's a call. So I think we're kind of running up to, we're starting to, there's no real great place unless someone wants to pay someone to come in and make sure the building's locked up. But I don't think we got there fully
Okay.
yet.
Keep it on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be good if we knocked it out though.
Easy one.
Just keep in mind, we've had a really wet spring, so the situation here with the roof is kind of important. Probably needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
Would it make sense if we, rather than running through all of these in order, like prioritized for the next work session? When you've got two short-term topics that are going to take a heck of a lot of time.
In my eyes, the long-term topics are really just putting them out there so they don't fall off our radar. And then, depending upon the length of discussion that's necessary, then, picking a couple and moving them into the short term.
Okay.
Do you want to move that administration building up to short term? So we can get that.
Julie's running payroll in a poncho. She might.
No, it's not me. It's just every time it rains, I go into one section of the police department and I have plastic bags back there and I cover equipment. Because I'm like, one of these days, we're going to walk in the ceiling and we're going to have killed and fried all that computer equipment. Now, logic would dictate that you move that desk, but we don't have a place to move it. So
we trash bag it.
So I have acquired very large sturdy plastic bags and have forbade them to move them.
Let's move that up to short-term topics then.
Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom, for taking care of.
Yeah. Mom says thanks.
Oh, gosh. Okay, just make sure. So we've got Black Road Drainage, Police Department levy, and the building
Yes,
on the next.
for short term.
Okay, for short term. Got it. Thank you.
Closing action. Move for the adoption of motion number 23-060 to retire to executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, or compensation of a public employee or official in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22 G1. The time is 7:04. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Yes. Our work session will be April 20th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at this facility. Our May 4th business meeting will be at 6 p.m. also in this facility. Once we return to the business meeting from executive session, we will just close out and adjourn for the day. I thank you all for coming.
Take a piece of candy with you. So.